Hi, I'm Connie.
And I'm Connie.
And we are Bad News Travels Fast.
So, let's talk about failure.
Oh, failure. Okay.
What is failure?
Well, I don't know the definition of failure. I mean, I guess I could look that up real quick.
Okay.
Failure is a lack of success.
Okay.
That's what the definition is. And then for number 2, it says the omission of expected or required action.
I like that one better.
Their failure to comply with the basic rules. Okay. So it also says, what does it mean to be a failure? Failure is defined as an absence or lack of success. This is a pretty general purpose definition. It allows us to personally define success so we can know whether or not we have failed.
I think success is subjective, right? What is success? Some people consider success having a lot of money. Some people consider success being married with a family and living in with a family and a household. You know, it depends on what you define as success. And I think it also depends on what you define as failure. Because for me, failure is a little different. Sometimes I equate failure to quitting or giving up. But I say that subjectively only because I don't mean quitting something that needs to be let go of. I think sometimes we hold on to things that we need to quit. And we quit the things that we need to hold on to.
This is true. So what do you mean? Like, give me a scenario where quitting is failure.
Quitting is failure when I don't reach my maximum potential.
Okay.
Right? And not that I really have wholeheartedly defined what my maximum potential is, but the constant pursuit of moving forward. Right? And so I feel like we all have a purpose. And are we living out that purpose?
Well, you're making me think about, they say that this generation, which generation are we in? Do we know?
Is it like X or something?
Z?
Z.
Generation Z, X, Y, Z. I don't know. But anyway.
I'll look it up.
They say this generation is the generation that doesn't keep jobs. So they have a tendency to go from job to job to job, looking for what they desire to be what's best for them, right? So I might be on this job for a year, but while I'm on this job for a year, I'm looking for another one. 2 years max on a job, right? So we in Generation Z, it looks like it's saying Z. Okay, so the Generation Z people have a tendency to quit things based off of their personal preference. Would you call that failure? Not
necessarily, because sometimes, like I said, if they're on a job and they're, let's say they're on a job and their job is, hey, just to work this till the summer, till I graduate in 6 months. If your goal, it depends on what your goal and reasoning was.
Let's say your goal is just to make $50,000. So you start this job because it's all you're qualified for, $35,000. And so you get on that job and you get enough time there to qualify for something maybe greater, 40.
Okay.
And then, we're just going to keep getting on jobs and quitting them.
I feel like you need some longevity somewhere in order to go up. When you're looking at the work world, for instance, right? I would ask the question if every 6 months you have a new job. Because what makes me think you're going to stay here?
Right. Well, absolutely. If I was hiring somebody, if we're in the interview process, if you hand me a resume with 20 jobs on it, I'm probably not going to hire you.
And you're 20. That's different. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because the longer you live, your resume should improve.
Oh, of course. Of course.
But that. So I
But even if you're 65, like,
we have 20 pages.
Anybody with some, if you're having someone, you should have someone to do your resume.
Yes.
Because they would say, this is not a good idea to put 20 jobs on here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I tell them my resume for what I'm applying to, right?
Yes.
So if I'm applying to leadership positions and they, fall in lines, the chronological order falls greatly, then I would keep it on there. But if I'm applying to something and I've got a whole bunch of stuff on my resume that has nothing to do with it, like even when I help my students with doing resumes for the psychology field, take off working at Foot Locker, take off being a nanny.
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's
Right.
the purpose of getting internships,
Yes.
volunteering and stuff like that. And there's
Yeah.
different things you can put. We want to see your university involvement. We want to see your community service, your professional development, your certifications and licenses. So you have all those other things that you're looking at. But sometimes like, well, I don't have anything on my resume. So I also do that with them so you can see the gaps and where you need to fill them in and where you need to grow. But like I said, failure sometimes to me is not reaching my maximal potential. You know, we were talking earlier just about some things that I was kind of dealing and had on my plate. And so quitting sometimes for me is a failure when I know I can do it. But like I said, the question becomes, is this the right thing for me to do in this season right now?
Right.
And sometimes we bite off more than we can chew.
Yes.
Right. And it's really not worth the necessary stress for an extra couple of dollars.
Right.
And so.
Right. Because it's like I said to you earlier, do you want the money or your sanity? Like, which one? You got to balance out.
Right.
Do we want the sanity or do we want the money? Now, you might lose your sanity over here. So what choice are we making? You know, especially I think in this season where we're dealing with so much happening at one time, the different pandemics and whatnot, it is very important to take care of your emotional mental health.
Right. And we don't do that well when we're stressed.
That's so true.
Right. You told me like, you're stressed right now and you look snappy, like, you know, and so we're less receptive to things. And also we don't make the best decisions when we're stressed.
Right.
And so.
And anything, we talked about triggers in the last podcast, but anything can trigger you when you're stressed.
Oh my goodness.
Things that aren't normally a trigger will be triggering you. Right.
They'll ketchup splatter and you upset. Like,
right.
You know, like just dumb stuff.
Yes.
And so I think that's something to be mindful of too. But and so like I'm dealing with a core belief that quitting is a failure because I don't usually quit things, right? I have ended relationships that were toxic. I have let go of friends that maybe have been toxic. But it's like, and see, I think the dynamics of what I got going on, it's like I got a test I need to take. And it's like, oh, like I'm not even giving myself the opportunity to take it.
Right.
But the question is not whether I can take it and pass it, because I know I can. But it's like, do I really need to be doing all of this right now?
Right.
And sometimes we fail at a lot of things, meaning that we don't do anything well. So failure could be not doing the things that you have well. For somebody, I'm not sure.
Well, I would definitely say that failure is perspective. And it is perspective to whatever you think it is. I think about times where when we thought about the word failure, I'm thinking right now, feeling like a failure as a mother. Because my child is not walking the path that I was expecting him to walk, you know, at that time. He's not walking that path. So because of that, I'm failing. Right. Or, you know, one of my children who had issues in school for many years, I was feeling like a failure as a parent and constantly trying to revamp my parenting based off of feeling like a failure. When I had to really allow for other things to be issues, right? So you have a child going to school who may be acting a certain way. There might be issues at the school that have nothing to do with you. Right. It might be, sometimes some of us are dealing with generational curses, right? So I might have been really bad in school. They're repeating that same behavior. So I'm like, OMG, like, why is this happening? You know what I mean? So I think that failure is perspective. So there have been times when I felt like a failure as a mother. And then also, I think about one thing my husband said. We had we owned a convenience store, and it didn't work out. Like, it did well for a while, and then after a while, it just didn't work out. Like, we just could not afford to keep it up. You know what I mean? And so we had to let that go. And so I think he had said to me in one of our conversations that he thought that I would see him as a failure. I never saw him as a failure. I saw it as a season where we needed to do that. I hadn't even thought of the word failure or that it just went bad for us or whatever, because I mean, he got another job and he was doing side jobs as well. So it wasn't like income wasn't coming in. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I had never even thought, it never crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's thinking, because this thing did not happen the way we thought it was supposed to happen, we're now dealing with the word failure. And I wasn't even on that page.
Right.
I was thinking, well, shoot, it was a season. We did it while it lasted. It was great. You know what I mean? Now we're moving on
to the
right. next thing.
And that's a good thing about failure being perspective, because sometimes things are for a season. Mm-hmm. We make it, this is going to be my life thing,
right.
dream and goal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's not necessarily meant to be that. And I think that in seasons, if we don't recognize the seasons, things will feel like failures. And so sometimes if I'm in a season where I am not working 2 jobs,
mm-hmm.
right? But I have been used to working 2 jobs all the time,
mm-hmm.
right? I'm not going to trust the process or wait for the open door for the one that gives me all that I need.
Right.
Because I'm like, I gotta be doing this. I have to do that. And sometimes we're really ambitious, so we take on more than we can really deal
absolutely.
with. And that's also a hindrance too. And then when we take on more than we were supposed to, we're not doing anything good.
Right.
And then that brings our self-esteem down, because now I'm failing again. I gotta let go of this other thing again.
Yeah.
I just quit this last thing and now I'm quitting at something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so in our mind, we feel like failures because I keep letting go of things. I keep trying things and they don't work out. So I think the thing to think about with failure is like, am I supposed to be doing this right now? Right? And so I feel like nobody fails, and everybody's probably getting fired from a job before, let go, whatever the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make you as a person a failure. That just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I think we need to say, hey, this is just not working out. Let me find what does work. But we spend so much time on what didn't work out that we don't see what is working out.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be able to realize and recognize that. And I feel if we learn to live on purpose and find out what that purpose is, we won't start and stop and start and stop and start and stop all these other things, because we could just get into doing what we're supposed to do.
Right. I feel like I could hear, the question, how did you get through failure as a parent? Like I could hear that as you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
How did I get through feeling like a failure? I just finally went to my child and was like, where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? Because I knew there were some things in our relationship. It was like a blockage in our relationship.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I'm talking about my oldest son. He was really angry with me for like a few years.
Okay.
And so I had to find out what that was. So initially, I let years go by him being angry just off of the strength of he's becoming a teenager. He think he grown. He trying to be a man.
That's what happens.
All the things that all the things that we've heard about children. And I finally just went to him like, have I done something to you to cause you to be angry? Now, even though I know that anger can be my own personal choice, I still was just like, what have I done something?
Mm-hmm.
And if I did, like, I'm really sorry. Like, would you please forgive me for that? Because as a parent, I'm just not perfect, and I could just really screw up at any given moment, because we just don't know what to do with these kids for real.
Right.
So, and I remember him saying, you weren't there for me when Graham passed. And I was like, whoa. So I think some parents, if a child says to them, you weren't there for me in this season, some parents will be like, yes, I was.
Yeah, they get defensive.
I was right there. Don't you remember? I took you to the store and I did this and I did that and I did.
Have nothing to do with
and that has nothing to do with what the child felt.
Right.
And I knew when he said that, it hit me. It hit me because I was like, oh, I had no idea. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I knew it was true. I couldn't emotionally be there for him because I was devastated.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't emotionally there for nobody, I don't think.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he was struggling with the loss, and I had no idea. Because I'm thinking, my children, if they're struggling with the loss, I'm going to see them upset or see them crying. I didn't know that it was going to come out in him just being angry with me. You know, because I didn't go to him to comfort him when I didn't even know he needed it.
Yeah.
And I know I needed comfort on a daily basis, and I also wasn't getting it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think once we got through that conversation and me apologizing to my son, sincerely apologizing, not being defensive. And I didn't even say all that I said just now, like about when he said I wasn't there for him, I was just like, I'm so sorry. I just owned up to it right then. I didn't make no excuses like, oh, I was devastated too, and you got to understand, she was my grandma 25 years, and she only your grandma 5. Like, you know, I just could hear all the, we often want to take the prideful, I'm sorry, I'm waving at people on camera.
The prideful.
We all often take the prideful stance, and they don't need that. And so I realized that that was a moment that I did fail. And it was a moment that I didn't know I was failing at. But in order to get through it, I had to reconcile with the other person. So I think a lot of times you have to reconcile with the situation. You're talking about a job per se. So I have to reconcile with the fact that I really don't need this job right now. So you just reconciling with the actual truth, I think, will help you get through failure. And also having an understanding, we have a great relationship now. It went that way, and now it's going great. So basically, like, was it really a failure?
Right. It was a challenge. It was a moment of a lack of communication, right? Because had you not come to him and asked, would you have even known?
No, I wouldn't have known.
Right. Because he was so angry he wasn't going to come to you.
Right.
But I have a question. I've often heard people say, like, I feel like I failed so many times at relationships, right? And let me give you a little bit more, right? So, okay, I was in a relationship, didn't work out. I got another relationship, it didn't work out. I got another relationship, it ain't working out. And it's just not working out, right? And both people are making mistakes, right? And so what do you say to a person that feel like they keep failing at relationships?
I would say you're not necessarily, so I just take issue with the word failure, I guess. I don't think anything is a failure per se.
Yeah.
And I get it, like you take a test, you have an A, F. If you have an F, that's a fail. To me, you failed the test, you're not the failure.
Yes.
Because you have the ability to study again, maybe take the test over if the teacher allows. If they don't, you just don't make that same mistake.
We're not letting
but
you
as
take
far
tests over. We're not letting you take tests over.
As far as relationships go, I think that you have to make the decision that you are possibly choosing the same type of person in a different body.
Ooh, that is good indeed.
So I am choosing someone. Oh, I got a great example. So I knew this young lady. She was in when she was a teenager, she got into a relationship with a guy, and he was abusive. He was mentally abusive, physically, verbally. He was all the abuse.
Emotional, just everything.
He was everything. Okay. She got out of that relationship. The next relationship she got into, he was not physically abusive. He was not verbally abusive, but he was emotionally abusive. And so, because he was different than the last guy.
Or a little bit better.
He was a lot better, but he was still abusive. He still made her feel less than. He still gave her the same feeling the other guy gave her, but in a more subtle way.
Yeah.
So the next guy was more sophisticated about the abuse. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The first guy was reckless. He hitting her, he doing all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? And you're like, I ain't going back to that. But you choose the same type spirit, just in a lesser form. And really, this second guy is way more cunning and can bring way more destruction to you on the emotional, mental side, because he's not outwardly hitting you.
Right. And it's so subtle that you don't even notice it, the feeling. And then what will happen is everybody else that you talk to about it, it's like, but he's not.
He's not doing.
He's not doing like what Ray Ray did. He's not doing that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah,
and they'll be like, because those type of guys who are like cunning, they look good in front of others.
Oh yes.
So even your family will be like, he's a good guy. Don't mess this up. So now the pressure is on for you to stay in an abusive relationship that is not seen. It's like invisible abuse.
And that's the worst kind, I feel like.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it is. Because now you have to you're dealing with the emotional torment of it all.
Right. Where there's no Band-Aids. There's no Neosporin, right? There's no alcohol. There's no peroxide.
It's your heart that works straight to the heart. It's not me punching you in the arm and you getting a bruise and you healing from that bruise. It's me punching you in the heart.
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
And so you begin to almost die inside.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. So you can die like real slow like though.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So then she was in that relationship, and that one was harder to get leave. Out of.
Yeah.
You know, because of all the pressures and all the thoughts about it. And someone even at church told her she probably is not in an abusive relationship. She's probably comparing him to the last guy. Ooh, child. Yeah.
Deep breaths.
Woosa. Because I was like, oh my gosh, like no, you're in abuse. You know, just the things that she told me, I'm like, you're in 100% abuse. We need to move on from this, and you need to go into therapy and not be in a relationship.
And I think that's key though, because sometimes people feel like they fail at relationships, right? Because they jump into the next one, into the next one,
right.
Into the next one. There's no break. And
all of them are toxic.
Yes.
Every single one.
Yes. And then I think when you don't take a break, you don't take the time to learn the lesson.
You don't take the time to heal from the last trauma. So you're jacked up. You're going, okay, 5 people, you got trauma from this one. You go to this one. Now you got trauma from this one and this one. You're over here with trauma from these 3. So now when you get to that last person, oh my gosh, they're dealing with you with all kinds of baggage. You got to get rid of your baggage.
Right. And so it's not that they're failing at relationships. Maybe they are not taking the time to work at the relationships and work out whatever is in them that's causing them to choose the same people.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times, not all the time, but I think a lot of times we choose people that are familiar to our family relationships. So with the abused girl, her parents, she got whoopings, like regular whoopings, like everybody else, but her parents were emotional abusers. She would get the silent treatments from them. Everything that went wrong, they would make her feel like it was her fault, you know. And so for her to get into that second relationship, it was very familiar to her. So she was comfortable in it at first.
It seemed right.
Yeah, so she's comfortable in it, and then realizing, so we had to go back to the realization that you left your parents' house for this reason. You left as a teenager your parents' home because of these things they were doing. And now you've picked a guy who's doing the same things.
And that's also why the parents liked him, because they were the same.
Right, the same spirit. And also telling her, and this is so unfortunate with like, I would say religion, you know, telling her that she needed to just submit. She needed to
abuse.
She needed to change for him, and that's why he's not satisfied with her.
Oh, Because she's responsible for his satisfaction.
Child.
Okay.
Do we really want to go there?
I know.
You know, we are not. That was the first thing I learned. I went into therapy. That was the first thing that I learned, was that I am not responsible for my husband's shortcomings. And I think that a lot of times we have this assumption that everything he does is
a reflection of you,
a reflection of me, or my fault.
Right.
So, like, for instance, if he is giving me the silent treatment, it's because I did something to cause him not to talk.
And that encourages abuse.
It encourages abuse. And also, you could have got him like that. Meaning he was like that before you got married.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of times when we're even in a dating process or the fiance process, we are not noticing that these are detrimental things that are going to happen in the marriage.
Right, because we're so excited about the dating part or the fiance part, because it's like, I'm getting married, it's a happy occasion. And so what do you do when you realize, after planning everything, these are some things I don't want to deal with?
Oh my gosh. And he can have some great excuses for it. So let's just because I've used the word silent treatment, let's just keep using that.
Yeah.
So he's giving you the silent treatment. Now, when you were dating, he would say, I just needed some time. I just needed some time to process, what you said or what you did. But you get married to him, so you're thinking these are situational.
Right. And
you're
just needed some time to calm down.
Right. He just needed some time to calm down and get it together. That's understandable. We all have triggers. We get anger, So we're thinking, oh, it's fine. We're not thinking that every week is going to be something in the marriage. Or every 2 weeks. Or, you didn't make the eggs right. So now you're getting a silent treatment for 3 days. I know that sounds crazy, but it happens.
And the thing that happens though with sometimes religious people will say, oh, well, the Lord dealt with me and I realized that, I need to forgive you and, I apologize. But you made him pay for 3 days, or made her pay for 3 days with a silent treatment, and now you're no longer bothered by it.
Right.
So now we come back to do it. And then another thing that's abusive that people do in relationships, and sometimes that's why they feel like failure is added, is I'm losing my train of thought.
Wait, stop there. I apologize. I'm over it. So now you need to be over it too.
Yes. And so what happens is we talk to people when it's convenient
for us,
which is abusive.
It is. And it might not be over for me. I might be still hurting. Okay. So if you say to me, I'm sorry, and I say, okay, but I need time to process that because it hurt what you did to me. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times, and I've seen this with even infidelity. Like the husband or the wife, they went out on their marriage, they had sex with somebody else, they get found out. They apologize. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to really do this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. We're going to now work on, we're deciding to stay and work on a marriage, right? We've decided this right now today to work on a marriage. But you still cheated on me and I still don't trust you. So even though you decided that, I still trust has to be built back up again. So every time you go out that door, I need to know where you are. If normally you would come home late and I found out you're cheating during that time, right? I need to know when you're leaving work, you're coming straight to me. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to be late, I need an answer for that. You get what I'm saying? It's just for a season until the trust is built up where you can, you know what I mean? But I've heard people say, she didn't really forgive me because she wouldn't be wanting me to call her every hour on the hour. No, you're just doing that to build up trust. Like, inconvenience yourself. at this moment. It might seem like a lot. I know I'm saying every hour on the hour,
Yeah,
but
it seems like a lot.
it might seem like a lot. But if I cheated on you,
I don't know when and what time.
I've destroyed our trust in the marriage, right? I now have to be the responsible person to build up that trust again. So whatever, because I love you so much and I really want this to work, whatever works for you, I need you to get back to the place of comfort.
Yeah, and I need you to get to the place where you trust me and you know I'm not going to do nothing like that.
Right.
You know, and be open and honest.
It was really just one time. It really was. So now I'm going to inconvenience myself and call you. I'm going to set my alarm for 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I know that sounds crazy. But you get what I'm saying. I just feel like, I know I'm over exaggerating. But even in that, if your wife just wanted to hear your voice every hour. Hey, babe, I'm at work, but I love you. Hang up. You know what I'm saying? Like, do whatever it takes to build that trust back up again. And don't attack the person who is hurting. And it's vice versa for men and women.
Yeah.
You know, we're using an example of men, but women as well. Women cheat. I know women who cheat. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think that's a really, really good point, because that goes back to what we talked about in the last podcast. They should have known better, or they should be over it by now.
Oh my gosh. Now that's a killer right there.
You should be over it by now. It's been 6 months. Like,
right. But I still don't trust you. You know why? Because you still looking untrustworthy.
Looking untrustworthy?
You still sounding and smelling untrustworthy. No. So this is the thing. This is what I've seen at times with cheaters, because I've talked to people who have had that happen in their marriages. So I'm gonna use an example of one couple. He cheated with the lady on the job. Okay. So you're now going to work with the person you slept with, and I'm at home still. So wife is like, is there any way you can get moved to a different area where you're not seeing her? Any way she can be moved? Is there any way that someone can be moved? Because this is going to be difficult for me. I don't know if y'all had sex in the closet at the job, or if y'all, you get what I'm saying. We have imagination now.
I got it, yes.
You know what I'm saying? So basically, the wife couldn't trust him until there was a change on the job.
Got it.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So someone who, might be ministering to them might be like, well, you just going to have to trust. The devil is a lie. No, you broke trust by going to work.
You broke trust while you were at work.
While you were at work.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So you need to be either looking for a new job or asking a supervisor or something, is there any way I can, and you ain't got to tell what happened, because there might be no fraternization at the job where you might get in trouble for fraternizing. You know what I'm saying? So finally he decides, I'm going to get a new job. He got a new job. You know what I mean? He cheats again. So not only did you break trust the first time, you've now broken trust a second time.
He cheated with somebody else at the new job?
No, well, this wasn't on the job. He didn't cheat on the second job. He didn't cheat with someone on the second job.
Okay. He
just cheated with someone. So there were times when she thought he was at work and he was not at work.
That's after she started trusting him again the second time.
After she started trusting him again. So imagine the trust is broken and now it's double, because, and we say, in the Bible, it says don't keep record of wrongs. The problem with that is a pattern is now being created for, I call that abuse. If you cheat more than once, that's abuse.
Okay. If
you cheat once, I don't.
That's like a deal breaker for me.
I can't even think about it. It triggers me in my mind. Like, I can't the thought just cannot, it doesn't work out.
I
because
think the challenge with the cheating is that it didn't just happen. There were constant conversations, inappropriate things, times alone. It was because it just like, oh, we just did it.
Fell on top of each other.
No.
They just tripped and fell on top of each other.
It was planned. It wasn't planned, but it was little subtle things that happened that grew into bigger things.
Right.
And then you began to create inappropriate situations.
Right.
And so it was something that was worked up. Right. And so it was a process.
Time and energy.
Yes.
That you spent on someone else.
Building it to get comfortable enough.
Right.
To sacrifice your marriage.
And then to come back again like, okay, now I'm going to give my life to Christ. I'm going to go to church every Sunday. I'm going to read my word. I'm going to do this. And so you look like, okay, you look like you're doing well with it. You know what I mean? But from 4 to 6 last Friday, I don't know where you were. You got off work at 4. You didn't come home till 6. I decided not to ask, just to see if you would say, hey, babe, I'm late because I stopped at such and such. No, you came in the house and just did the regular. So now you're looking, like I said earlier, you're looking and smelling like, I can't trust you. Mm-hmm. Because the communication needs to be that we are building up trust. So you 2 hours late. You you're an hour and a half late home. Let's say it takes 30 minutes to get to the house.
So I got a question.
What? We're going to start talking about...
We still do. I asked a question about failure in relationships.
Okay.
Is it not a common courtesy, like, when you're getting off work and you going to do something else to be like, hey, I'm going to run and do this? Like, does that not kind of like part of communication?
I think it is, but it's making me think about. So in the beginning, I've been married for 19 years.
You sure?
It's about to be 19 years in November. I think
it's November now.
Lord forgive me.
It's November today, but okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. On the 9th is my 10th. November 10th is my anniversary. Lord touch my life. November 10th is my anniversary, and I think we'll be married 19 years. I hope that's correct. But anyway, with us being married so long and together so long, I think after a while you just don't necessarily care because the trust is so strong. Mm-hmm. So like, for instance, if Sean came home 2 hours late, unless I needed him for something, I probably wouldn't care. I probably wouldn't even be thinking about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And hopefully later on he would be like telling me about his day and I'll be telling him about mine, and that information will be shared regardless. Mm-hmm. In the beginning of our relationship though, I'd have been like, where was you? Okay. And not because I didn't trust him, but I would be like, oh, you normally come home at 4:30. You come home at 6:30. Where was you? Mm-hmm. But we got 5 kids. It's like
you might have been picking somebody up.
Yeah, okay. It's like whatever.
Okay, I just had to ask that.
But
question.
I think you develop that kind of trust over time, where it's like another family member. It's not necessarily marriage per se. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that probably sounds weird.
No, it doesn't necessarily sound weird. Like I said, some things like it's a common courtesy. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm coming to your house and I'm stopping at the store, I'll be like, hey, did you need anything while I'm here? Right. Common courtesy to me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting off work and I'm like, dang, I'm going to run and grab something to eat. I'm going to run back past Mike's house or something. Yeah. Like, hey, just like a common courtesy to me.
That absolutely should be. Okay. And I would have been upset if I didn't have that common courtesy in the beginning. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. We 5 kids later. So I'm just like, yeah, whatever you was doing, I'm sure it was fine. Right. Which is so bad.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying that it's like
even thinking about, remember you had called him and we were at church.
He called me.
Oh, he called you.
Oh gosh.
Okay. So we're at church in the intercessory prayer room.
Right. We're leading 15 hours of prayer.
Right. Okay.
And she leaves her phone at home.
Right.
And she's on my phone looking up some prayer requests that somebody sent her in her email. So she literally has my phone.
And his name pops up on her phone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hello? And he was like, is Connie there? And I was like, oh, yeah, she's here. And handed her the phone.
Right.
She picks up the phone. She's looking like, what?
Yeah, because I walk out of prayer because it's like he calling for something. So I walk out of prayer. She's in there. And this is what he said. He like, man, like, dang, like, I don't even know how to lie, but I'm planning a surprise birthday party for her. And he was like, I wanted to let you know, and this is the details and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay. And so I know how people are about their spouse. So I'm thinking in my head, if she asks me what her husband wanted, I'm telling her the whole thing. It ain't a surprise anymore.
But I've never asked.
And we went through prayer, led 15 hours, we read for 2 hours of the 15 hours. Was it 2 or 4? I think
it's 2.
I feel like it was longer. But anyway,
maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, we led for our time, maybe our 2 to 4 hour block. And we led prayer. She never asked about it. So now it's her birthday party and we're laughing. And I'm like, yo. And I just admired your, not the trust that you had in him, but that you didn't even question it or it didn't even think anything of it. Because people be tripping and I just, like, and you like, what? Like, I think I was talking to somebody's husband outside one time as he was waiting for her and I pulled up. But it's not like I'm just talking to your husband. Like, I got your husband a job at a company. You know what I'm saying? So we were talking about that. And they swore up and down that I wanted their husband. I said,
oh my gosh.
Why?
Well, that's tough.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. But that was her insecurity, and I basically have none.
Yeah. As it relates to your relationship.
As it relates to that.
Yeah.
Because you know how I get a little triggered when somebody say about cheating. I probably would kill him. So I don't even worry about that. No, that's not why I don't worry about it.
Yeah, but what you said to me, I thought was powerful.
What
you said to me, like, I don't have to deal with that. Like, I give it to God. I trust God. Like, I'm not going to deal with that. Nobody got time to be playing private eye.
Right.
And jumping behind bushes. And following people. We don't have time for that.
So I don't necessarily trust my husband not to cheat. He is a man with flesh. Mm-hmm. Right? But I trust God that he won't cheat. Mm-hmm. Like really. It's not like one of those things where I'm feeling insecure and I'm just really trying to trust God that he'll never do that. I really prayed that I would not be dealing with that in my marriage before I got married. Mm-hmm. And I felt like God honored that request. Mm-hmm. So that was just one of the things I was concerned about because I've been cheated on before. It was so painful that I never, ever, ever would want to have that experience again. And especially not in my marriage. Yeah. Yeah. So I really, for that part, I really trust God that he only has eyes for all it is. Okay. And that's what agreement that he has eyes only for all it is. And that's what we pray too. You know, being a wife, I think that's a prayer that I even prayed before I got married, that my husband's eyes would only be for me, that he would love every inch of me, whether it was cellulite, fat here, fat there, skinny there, whatever it was, that he would love it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that we don't have no issues with that. Yeah. You know, and if he sees something that looks great, oh, that's great, but that's mine over there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Drinking water out of your own cistern, right?
Come on.
Liking your own cistern.
Watering
your own cistern. I think I'm a quote type of person. I remember I had my students in positive psychology. They had to find 50 quotes from people. They can't just Google the internet. Like, they had to talk to people. Like, what's a quote you live by? And I remember one student getting a quote that says, life is not greener on the other side. It's greener where you've watered it.
Whoa. Wow.
Life is not greener on the other side. It's greener where you've watered it. Like, the grass is not greener over there.
Right.
It's greener where you watered it. So if you over there watering that grass, that's why it's really nice and green. Because you watering that one and this one is destitute.
Right.
So when you're not watering and cultivating something, it doesn't grow.
Oh, that's good.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's really
so
good.
it's like, I have to figure out what I'm going to give my attention to. Which grass am I going to water?
Right.
Because everybody's going to have something that you don't like. Like, you're not going to like everything about everybody.
Yeah.
But where I take the time to water it is where it's going to blossom.
Mm-hmm.
And so the moment I start watering some other grass is the moment that grass becomes greener in my eyesight, because I'm giving time to it.
Yeah.
I am putting the time and the energy and all that into it. So it starts to grow because I'm paying attention to it. And what I am lacking and don't pay attention to dies. Right? That's just a process of, and I don't garden. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it just makes sense. And so I think people fail because we don't water our own grass. And I don't mean somebody else. I mean us.
Yeah.
I don't water my own grass. I'm not giving to myself. I'm not giving myself the time that I need, the energy that I need, the exercise, the sleep, the rest, whatever it is. I'm not giving it to me.
That makes me think about people pleasing.
Yeah.
And how a lot of times we are doing things and we're running ourselves ragged
in the ground
to please someone else and not ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be a time when I'm tired and I just really need rest. I need to take that.
And be okay with it.
Because
we feel bad. And so I think, that I asked the question about failing at relationships. I'm going to fail at relationships when I fail at giving myself what I need.
Come on.
Right?
Because you got to take care of yourself.
Right. And I remember my sister saying that to me. Like, I was kind of getting antsy. I was short. Everything was bothering me. I know it's something wrong because usually I don't care about it. It's like, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can forgive easily because I'm not even thinking about it. Right. But she was like, Connie, it's something you're not giving yourself that you need to. Mm-hmm. And it's why it's affecting you.
What was it?
Probably it was rest, it was time, it was getting away from the busyness of life or whatever it is. But I had to search out because I didn't know what I wasn't giving myself.
Right.
Because naturally, me being spiritual was like, I'm not spending enough time with God. And so even when I'm overwhelmed and frustrated and on edge, I try to fit more time to do something else.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I'm saying I need to give God more time. And there's nothing wrong with spending time with God or increasing that if that's the season He's saying. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to add more to my plate.
Right.
What I really need to do is pull back.
Right.
So I'm still not giving to myself. Right? Because I'm half, sleep or whatever the issue is. So I had to take a moment back. Mm-hmm. I had to take a breather and say, okay, Connie, what do you need in this season? When we talked about it, when you're not getting enough sleep, like, you can't even really focus and function properly.
Well, you can turn crazy, child. Right. I know I use that word all the time, but when you don't get enough sleep, when you don't eat right, I mean, it's so much.
Exercise.
There's so many things. And when we're not taking care of our body, how we can just be like off.
Right. So how do I now get into right relationships with other people when I'm not right in the relationship with me?
You know what? I know we mentioned therapy, but I would say when I felt like I needed therapy at a time, I went straight to YouTube, and just Googled therapy for this, therapy for that. Mm-hmm. And I was just watching therapists on there do their thing or talk about a subject that I needed help with, because at the moment I'm like, I don't have, my insurance didn't cover therapy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I ain't got no money for therapy. I ain't got no money for that. I ain't got no $150 an hour or however much, they were requiring or asking for. And so I would say, don't let that be a stumbling block, like the amount of money it costs to get therapy. Research what it is that you need. Like if you find yourself always hurting about something, you can just Google how to heal from hurt. So many videos will come up, articles will come up. Mm-hmm. Take care of your heart and your mind so that you can be good for someone else.
Right. You could be good for you. Forget somebody else.
But you want to be, we're talking about relationships and you want to be in one. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Or you don't want to fail at them.
Right. So you want to take care of yourself and get to the place where you're at peace with self. Then once that happens, you'll see that same dude in a different package and be like, oh no, not him.
Yeah.
Now you can't see that because you just want attention from whoever
is going to give it to you.
Whoever's going to give it to me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to get right with you. I think that if you really do need therapy, you need to find out and get it right. So I'm agreeing with you too. Like, things I look up stuff like how to deal with this. Sometimes my mentee's dealing with stuff. I'm like, I don't really know too much about that. Let me look and stuff like that. But if you really need therapy, because some issues are deeply rooted and you need to work through them with someone,
right?
And so I just wanted to make that note. But yeah, that's good. I know we got on relationships because I've heard people say, like, I keep feeling that relationships. You know, how do I keep failing myself? I keep making mistakes. And I think failure is never going to be a mistake. Like, everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes that's for you to learn from them. Sometimes you learn from other people's mistakes, but that is not failure. So failure being subjective or based on your perspective, and it's really based upon the standards and the things that you have set for yourself is what constitutes failure in your life.
And breaking bad habits.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I was talking to a young lady last week, or maybe a couple of days ago, and she was saying that the relationships, she'll get in a relationship, it'll be going good, and she'll just do something dumb to mess it up.
Oh, so she self-sabotages.
She self-sabotages.
Oh. Well, that's another thing. So people self-sabotage usually when they have this fear that if they get in this relationship, they're going to leave them or let them go. And they deal with the issue of rejection. Right. So it's like, I'm going to get out of it before that person has the chance to reject me.
Yeah.
Right. So the person who deals with rejection rejects others and then gets upset about it.
Right.
So they begin to self-sabotage when they start getting too close, when the things start going too well, because they feel like, hey, when things go well, they come to an end.
Right.
And so that's their way of protecting themselves.
Right. So that has to be broken.
Yeah.
You know, and when things are going really well, ride the wave, girl, ride the wave. You know what I'm saying? It's going good. Let it go good.
Keep watering it,
oh
right?
My gosh, yes. Keep going. And also when you feel like, when you start thinking in your mind, this is too good to be true. You have to weed out those thoughts that would cause you to make a decision to destroy something that's going good. Right. Now, there are times when
things are too good to be true.
God will come to you and be like, boo,
that ain't it.
This is too good to be true. Can't you tell? And then you know. But a lot of times we're like, man, this is too good to be true. Because we don't even feel that we deserve someone good doing good to us. And a lot of that too stems from bad relationships with the family. Mm-hmm. You know, you had a bad relationship with your daddy or your mama or whoever, your brothers and your sisters, and then now you're repeating that and somebody good comes along. The crazy thing about relationships is good people always hook up with bad people. Why?
I don't know.
How does that work? It's like the good person always hooks up with the abuser, and the abuser always finds, how are they finding all these good people? Not always, but y'all get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like it just happens more than not.
Yeah, and then
it shouldn't be that way.
Tarnished and abused, and then when the good one comes along, he jumping through hoops to overcome the mistake of the last
person. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right.
So we was talking about failure, huh?
We did. I think we still had failure in relationships and what it means.
Failure is perspective.
And so, last thing I'll end with a quote I heard someone say that was really good. And she said, "I can take failure any day, but I won't live with regret."
I know that's right.
I say, girl, like
100%. Cheryl Brady had a series called No Regrets. That was like back in the 90s. Oh, wow. So I don't even know if that is still available, but it was the best message I ever heard about regret. We literally should have no regrets. And a lot of bad things happened to her. So I don't know if we can look that up, or if we see it, if we find it, we'll put it in the link description. But when you go through bad things, those bad things should be stepping stones to a greater place. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. So you didn't choose to go through this suffering or this trauma, right? But you need to use that trauma as fuel to go forward and go higher. Mm-hmm. You know, so yeah, I may have been abused, by my mom or dad or a boyfriend, whoever. But now I need to take the time to heal and then use that to project me forward. Use that to recognize when an abuser is coming your way.
Right. Right.
You know what I
And
mean?
heal, build your self-esteem up so that you know who you are and worth your worth and value. And no, I'm not just going to accept and take anything just to have somebody.
Right.
But we don't necessarily go through that process. One last thing I wanted to say when I asked you about people failing in relationships and they seem like they have some. I think also they, you know, like you said, they may choose the same person in a different body, but I think they don't also learn the lessons from the last one.
Oh, absolutely. Obviously.
And then you're not even dealing and working on you, right? Or we're making the same mistakes.
Yeah. If you're making the same mistake, you're looking through a lens that is cloudy, right? So it's like you got to get those lenses cleaned up so that you can see what's real and what's not. And I think a lot of times we are looking for a fantasy of a relationship.
That's important.
We're looking for a fantasy. We're looking for Cinderella and, you know, the king to come and marry the princess. And it's like, that is not a thing. It's just not a thing. So I think that, first of all, you got to come back to reality. Come back to earth. Relationships are not like what we see on movies or TV. Relationships are work.
Yes.
So how did I respond when he said this or he did this? I think a lot of times how we can suffer in relationships as well is not saying that we didn't like a thing. So he is, you know, I don't know, playing on the PlayStation for 5 hours a day, right? I don't like that because you're playing on the PlayStation for 5 hours and then you're coming to bed and you want something from me, but you didn't give me anything throughout the day. So instead of just being mad and acting out, you should be talking to say, man, I need more time with you. You know, I care about you. I want to spend more time. And also, what I think is important is knowing what your love language is.
Yeah.
So if your love language is quality time, you need that. And if you don't get it, you're going to be feeling some type of way, even though you don't even know what's happening, you know? And so you got to know yourself and then also communicate, especially when you don't like something. And you ain't got to go off about stuff. You just talk to the person. Hey, I didn't like when you did such and such. That made me feel some type of way. And if they can't handle that kind of conversation, they're not mature enough for you.
Right. And I think that because we are very passive sometimes in a relationship because we like, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Yes. So communicating how you feel hurts their feelings.
And also we'll say things like, oh, well, I was just trying to be like, you know, doing what they like to do. I was telling this girl, I can't remember what the thing, but let's just say they were going to go golfing and she hates golfing.
Oh yeah. It's like, you're doing that already.
So I'm like, you're going golfing? And she's like, yeah, he wanted to go golfing. I said, did you tell him you don't like it? No. Why?
And see, that's that issue that guys have sometimes in relationships. It's like, oh, when I married her, like she stopped doing all the things that she did before.
Absolutely, because she hated that stuff, but she should have told you.
Correct.
You want to go golfing? Go with your boys, boo. I'm not the golfer type. So don't, you know, say, oh no, I don't really like golfing. Actually, I hate it. So if you ever want to go golfing, just go with your friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You have to, it is give and take, but you have to know the things that you don't like, just don't do them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, what is that when they skate and sing? Is it the opera? The opera.
Oh, like in they're skating
like the Nutcracker. I don't like those type of events.
Okay.
They're very boring to me.
Okay.
Like ballet. Okay. So we went and saw ballet and I hated it. After I was there for about 20 minutes, I was ready to go. But I suffered through it. And then we did the black nutcracker. I can't remember what that's called. But anyway, I was like, oh, this is different. I'll try it.
Hated it.
So it's not my thing. Right? So now the church has an event, going to the ballet or doing something. And I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that to myself again. Now, some people were saying, oh, it's for the marriage ministry to just come out and spend time. No, I don't want to do that to myself. It was treacherous the last time. And I was sitting there like this.
The whole time. Knocked out?
After about 40 minutes. No, it was like 30 minutes, I think. I just went to sleep. I just couldn't stay with it. I don't know what it is about me and the ballet. And I know there's people out there that love the ballet. And if you do ballet, that's so wonderful. It is. Do your thing, child. But for me, I just don't want to watch it.
Yeah. But so, that's being okay with saying no again. Yes. I don't like this. This always stems back to communicate.
Communication. Absolutely.
Key. What's our Black business?
Oh, so thank you so much for listening to us randomly talk about everything.
Failure in relationships?
Yeah. Our Black business shout out is Kingdom Promotions. Love God, love people merchandise.
Yes.
Love God, love people. Okay? If you love God, you really should love people. If you don't love people,
ma'am,
you probably don't love God.
I'm just saying. You had to make a word out.
Oh, yeah.
So this is two different types. So you can always get a t-shirt, or you can
get this t-shirt.
This is like a light jacket, you can put on, but the back is kind of fly.
Got the camouflage.
Right. If you like camouflage, if you don't, this is cute. So Kingdom Promotions website will be in the description.
Yup.
Continue to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us
on Instagram at bntf.podcast. And I believe we have Facebook now as well.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And also let us know your thoughts. Please comment. Let us know what your thoughts are about what we're talking about. Even if you don't agree, just come on in there and say, yeah, I don't agree with that. That'd be great dialogue for us. We love that.
Yep.
All right. Have a good day. We love you.